When Blade Runner was released in 1982, rights issues prevented the release of the original soundtrack by Vangelis, so an unauthorized re recorded orchestral version was released instead. It took until 12 years later, in 1994, for this familiar album to appear. It's become a classic of film music and electronic music both. But here's the thing that needs to be emphasized. Despite what it says on the hype sticker, this is not a soundtrack. Not at all. What it is a 1994 album called Blade Runner by Vangelis. And I really think the difference is significant. Yes, this album does contain some music from the movie, definitely. And what we call, I think, the lion's share of the most important cues are here. But it also has a pile of stuff that is not only not in the movie, it probably has nothing to do with it and was recorded years later. And Vangelis' notes are a little bit cagey on this topic. I'm going to set the LP down because the liner notes for the LP have some errors in them, so let's go straight to the CD instead. So here's the CD version that was released in 1994 on East West and Warner Brothers, and we've got the liner notes in this booklet. And on the first page of the booklet, we've got, beautiful portrait of Vangelis in 1982, as well as his note to this album, which gives up the game in the very first sentence. It says, "Most of the music contained in this album originates from recordings I made in London in 1982 whilst working on the score for the film Blade Runner. Finding myself unable to release these recordings at the time, it is with great pleasure that I am able to do so now. Some of the pieces contained will be known to you from the original soundtrack of the film, whilst others are appearing here for the first time." And then he goes on to praise the film, quite justifiably. Blade Runner is, of course, my favorite movie of all time, and yeah, the music is a big part of that. But as I was saying, the first sentence really gives up what's going on here. Most of the music in this album originates from recordings made in London in 1982 whilst working on the score for the film Blade Runner. So that tells you something, right? It tells you that there's music not from Blade Runner on this album. And it's quite a lot of it. So let's go through the track listing track by track, and we'll cover it. So we'll start off with the track that is entitled Main Titles. And that title is not accurate. The music that we hear in the cue that's called Main Titles on the LP is not actually the music that plays over the main titles of the film. That is still, as yet, officially unreleased. We do, however, get some music that plays over the opening scene of the film with the fire belching out of the smokestacks and the flight into the Tyrell building. However, we start out with a clip of some dialogue of Harrison Ford as Deckard working with his Esper machine, zooming into the photo, the famous enhanced scene. And there's some music playing underneath that dialogue. The dialogue is just sampled, apparently, from a Laserdisc copy of the movie, the theatrical version, I think. But the electronic drone that you hear underneath that's not from the movie. That's just new Vangelis music from the 1990s. And then we move into track 2. Whoops! Live television, people. We move into track 2, Blush Response. And then into track 3, Wait For Me. Both of these are brand new 1990s recordings of music that has absolutely nothing to do with Blade Runner. Maybe it's inspired by Blade Runner. The titles obviously allude to scenes in the movie, and there's dialogue included in those tracks, again from the Laserdisc copy. But those songs, which don't sound very 1980s, they sound very 1990s. There's a good reason for that. They're recorded in the 1990s, newly for this album. Track 4, Rachel's Song, with a vocal by Mary Hopkin. That actually was recorded for the film. It just wasn't used. And towards the end, we have some music that sounds like the music from when Roy is riding the elevator after confronting his father. Tyrell. That music is called The Prodigal Son Brings Death, and Rachel's song kind of alludes to it, but again, not used in the film. Love Theme is the first track where we have nothing but music from the original film. Of course, that's famous cue from the Love Theme between Deckard and Rachel. One More Kiss, Dear, track number 6, sounds kind of incongruous, but it is definitely in the film. I believe it appears, it can be heard sort of faintly just after Deckard retires Pris. Oh, I'm sorry, not Pris, Zora. And we can sort of hear it when he goes to buy some Tsingtao at the bar. That's definitely in the movie. What it is a kind of mock-up, or I guess a better word would be it's a pastiche of the song called If I Didn't Care, most famously recorded by the Ink Spots. If I Didn't Care appeared in the work print for Blade Runner, but again, for rights issues, it was not able to be included in the final version, so Vangelis was tasked with writing a song that sounded just like it, and indeed, One More Kiss, Dear is based very closely on both the melody and arrangement of If I Didn't Care. And but yeah, it's in the movie, and so is Blade Runner Blues on side 2. Memories of Green is in the film. It's closely associated with Rachel, but that is actually not from the sessions that produced the soundtrack. That's from a previous album by Vangelis from 1980 called See You Later. That track was just used, I guess, as temp music when they were cutting together Blade Runner. Ridley Scott must have liked it, so it got used in the final film. Tales of the Future with some warbling by Demis Roussos. Again, that's in the film. That's definitely a major cue in the film. And it's sort of threaded through the entire second half of the film, I think. However, it's followed by a track on the LP called Damask Rose. That was not in the film, and as far as I know, has absolutely nothing to do with Blade Runner. It's just a new Vangelis song that was included on this album because he thought it fit musically. And again, we're getting into that thing where, like, this album is arranged in such a way, it's not, the tracks don't necessarily come in the order that they appear in the film. They're in an order that made sense musically to Vangelis. And again, so the choices that he's making as to what old material to include and what new material to include, that's a musical decision rather than a historical decision. And again, it's just further evidence that what we're talking about here is an album called Blade Runner, a kind of album-length meditation on the film rather than an actual soundtrack to it, which it is not. Then, of course, we get to the famous end title music. You know, that's clearly marked and accurately marked. That's from the film. Tears in Rain. Again, that's the famous Tears in Rain cue. So let's count them up. So in terms of music that's actually in the movies, well, most of Main Titles is in the movie. Love Theme is from the movie. One More Kiss, Dear is from the movie. Blade Runner Blues is from the movie. Memories of Green is from the movie. And Tales of the Future and the end title and Tears in Rain are all from the movie. However, we've got the introduction to Main Titles, Blush Response, Wait for Me, Rachel's Song, and Damask Rose. So that's a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4.5 tracks on this 12-track album that are not from the film and that have mostly have absolutely nothing to do with it. So it's all great music, but if you're looking for more music from Blade Runner, the official release would be a 3-disc set called Blade Runner Trilogy, sort of misleadingly called Blade Runner Trilogy, by Vangelis. Disc 1 just repeats the contents of this LP. Disc 2 gives us more music from the movie that wasn't on this album. although not all of it. There's still some missing. And disc 3 is just another brand new album from 2006 or whenever by Vangelis, apparently inspired by Blade Runner, but that has nothing to do with it. So again, I just am posting this video to correct some I think, a prevailing misconception that when you buy this record or that when you listen to this record, what you're getting is a soundtrack to Blade Runner. A lot of this music is not state-of-the-art 1982 electronic music. A lot of it is state-of-the-art 1994 electronic music. And what we're really dealing with here is another kind of conceptual opus from Vangelis. He has a lot of concept albums of this type. In this case, it's a concept album using the music from Blade Runner, but also incorporating a bunch of other music in order to create this album-length meditation on the film Blade Runner. So that's it for now. I hope you learned something useful.